Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
It's the Full Melt.
Give me a break. The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
And the beat goes on. Welcome back live to the PetPain.com studios for another edition of the Full Melt Show. The political season draws nigh. So does Halloween. So does Daboween. You people on the West Coast don't know what you're going to be missing for the Daboween. You may have your parties and fun stuff out on the West Coast, but we've got Daboween here in Michigan, let me tell you. Boy, that's drawing really close, coming up on the 30th of October. If you're going to go to the Daboween, it's up there at the Jam Shack in Mount Morris. You do have to be a medical patient in Michigan with a card, so have your card or your paperwork ready, and then you are welcome in for free and may partake of all of the festivities inside, cost-free. So it's going to be a great time. Looking forward to that. The big story that I want to talk about today, I'll tell you about in moments, but first, for our people here in Michigan, it seems that crazy Mayor Fouts in Warren is hell-bent on passing an ordinance which has already been voided by the Court of Appeals here in Michigan via Wyoming v. Terbeek. So go ahead, Mr. Fouts, if you want to further wear the rainbow hair makeup with rosy cheeks and honking clown nose. If you want to strap on the big floppy shoes and the multicolored parachute pants, you go right ahead and you waste the Warren taxpayers' money because what you're proposing is already illegal under state law as defined by the Court of Appeals. This is settled law, Mr. Fouts. I would suggest that you run your crazy little ordinance by your, pea-brain city attorney and have him look it over for its legality before you try passing it, because you're just going to be dragging people. People are going to drag your ass to court, and you're just going to waste a lot of taxpayer time and money twiddling your fingers around a subject that you don't have any control over at this point in time. I sympathize with your thoughts. Don't get me wrong, Mr. Fouts. I get your point. I understand what you're trying to do. You don't like the odor of the pot. You think that there's additional traffic in the town because, people are growing there. I doubt that that's the case at all. I think you're just hedging your bet with a lot of BS and, straw men. But, because there's marijuana growing all over the state in Michigan, in communities everywhere. Nobody's reported any increased traffic because there's a garden somewhere. It's fallacy. But there's a story about Mr. Fouts in the paper today via the Detroit Free Press at freep.com. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Seems that Minnesota is mired in marijuana mayhem. They are still begging to add some changes so that there can be some access for chronic pain patients. Minnesota recently passed their medical marijuana law. It is one of the states where it is kind of a useless law. It's kind of like New Jersey. It's kind of like, up until now, New York. It's a little bit like the southern states' laws with the oils that they say you can have, but you don't have access to because nobody can grow them and you can't really interstate transport them. And even if you could, it would be an expensive adventure. And probably risky to some extent if you're not used to dealing in the darkness of night with a substance that the federal government considers a Schedule I controlled substance. In other words, if you're not used to drug running you're probably not going to be comfortable with traveling in the darkness of night to Colorado to get your cannabis oil and then taking it back to South Carolina. I just don't see it happening. Florida, same way. So we'll talk a little bit about Minnesota. There's a story in the paper about Minnesota today. What else is going on? It seems like, oh, yeah. Marijuana has been, is it 6630507? What is that? If I say 6630507, what does that mean to you? Am I right about that? Just double check the 6630507 because I might not be right about that. I think I am though. I've got a pretty good digital memory. I'm pretty good for numbers, but just to double check for accuracy, because accuracy is always important. Where's the stupid thing at now? I looked it up earlier. 6630507, I believe, is the federal patent on marijuana. Oh, did you know that there was a federal patent on marijuana? Did you know that the only patent issued on cannabis in the world is the United States federal patent on cannabis as a neuroprotectant? I'm not kidding you. I believe it's patent number 6630507, if I'm not mistaken. It is. It's 6630507, just like I told you. I had to look it up just to make sure. Somebody should make, I was thinking that if you were really smart, you'd make a song. They did, if I said 8675309, what would that mean to you? Jenny. That's Jenny's number, right? 8675309. Yeah, that's the thing. Well, 6630507 should be in a song somewhere. If you were a really cool rock and roll artist or band, I don't care. Just even as a pop song, but I think it would go best as a rock song. Somebody should make a song called 6630507. And here, I'll tell you why. My idea is a brilliant idea, simply because, number one, it's a proven pathway, right? I said 8675309. Now, what makes you remember that? It's really the song that goes with it, isn't it? Because you try to remember the numbers, and you're like, what is it? Oh, yeah, it's 8675309. You remember those numbers by the musical notes. That's how your brain has filed those digits away. So maybe if you wouldn't remember the numbers, you remember the music. And the music reminded you of the numbers because the digits are filed inside of them. That's how your brain's storing it. It's a great mnemonic technique. This is why jingles are really effective material for sales. You can sell a lot of crap with a jingle because everybody remembers the damn thing. Even if they hate your product, even if they hate your stupid jingle, even more so. Because they'll never forget that damn thing. So somebody should make a song 6630507 because that's the federal patent number on marijuana. And if you look it up, if you Google it, if you Wikipedia the damn thing, you'll see that the federal government has claimed patent authority over the neuroprotective qualities of both CBD and THC, both the principal components of said Schedule I substance, narcotic marijuana. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. I'm not going to lie to you about this. I'm not just pulling this out of my ass, and this is not new information. This is, 1998 when they did this. But somehow marijuana has no proven medical benefit. Well, you just filed a damn patent that says otherwise. How can you be the patent holder on the neuroprotectant qualities of cannabis, or at least the two principal components considered to be cannabis, THC and CBD, tetrahydrocannabinol and just CBD, which is cannabidiol? I mean, if you have these substances, in order to get a patent issued by the patent office, you have to demonstrate, A, how you came up with this information, that this is your discovery and research, and B, that there's scientific merit behind it. You can't just get a patent on something and make a claim about something unless you demonstrate it to the patent office. Show the process, show how you found the process, and then we'll give you a patent on that particular finding, that discovery. That's what it is. It's research and development. This is what the patent office was created for, so that somebody else doesn't hear about your discovery and claim it as their own. Now, why would the federal government file in 1998 a patent on the neuroprotective quality of CBD and THC in cannabis? And in the impending 20 years, 2 decades that followed, then still take a strong stance that marijuana is a Schedule I substance with no recognized medical efficacy. It's not an effective drug, right? Well, wait a minute. The patent says otherwise. You couldn't obtain the patent from the patent office unless you did such demonstration scientifically. Now, what gives you the ability to say that in this category, and we need to, now why does the federal government have to have this patent? And why did they discover this information? Why didn't they give it to whoever else if they didn't get it themselves, if they didn't research this on their own through the people over there at the University of Mississippi where they grow the damn weed and keep it under lock and key in a big damn safe? To be only doled out to those who get approved research studies over this. And then the same organization through NIDA says, no, you can't research this substance. Now, how can you prove that something is medically, has medical effectiveness through scientific process if you're not allowed to study the damn stuff? And it's the only thing that I can think of in the history of the drug classifications where they continue to deny its testing. And they've definitely loosened it up recently, for sure. They've loosened it up, but my point is still standing. The evidence that marijuana is a neuroprotectant is contained within patent number 6630507. And if somebody made a damn song about 6630507, everybody would go, what is that? And then everybody would know about this stupid patent that the U.S. government has when they stand with the other foot and say that you're not allowed to have this substance. It has no medical benefit. Shh, we have a patent. And so I want to talk about the big story, which is the NFL, according to Forbes magazine, says that Forbes magazine says the NFL may be the best chance, the best way to test pot for its medical effectiveness. We'll talk about what Forbes has to say about that and why coming up next on the program. Don't go away.
You're getting the full melt.
Hello, boys and ghouls. Your old friend the Crypt Keeper here with a Pottober News Bulletin. Ghoulies and creepies gather thee round for a map to patience partying down. As the days grow shorter to the end of month 10, it's time to gather, friend among friend. Michigan card holders, admission is free to the X on the map dubbed Hall Deboween. This lure of free fun is perfectly true, and this is the invite. Yes, that means you. The vendors and speakers this day are just ghosts, exchanged for free entry, free food, and a toast. Asunder our differences this Hallows Eve, so we may bring fire to glorious weed. You may light up and your neighbor may match it. The smoke in the air is to bury the hatchet. The contests you enter are all also free. Considerable prizes for the winners there'll be. Canna Meds are welcome, it's alcohol-free. The Jam Shack, Mount Morris, from 7 till 3.
Deboween sponsors include Depot Town of Ypsilanti, Sweetly, Flint, Harborside, Ann Arbor, Third Coast, Ypsilanti, Dank Team, Flint, Two Guys in a Grow Shop, Burton, Florida Bob's Place, Puff and Stuff of Lansing, Happy Buddha, Lansing, The Spot, Kalamazoo, Compassion Club US of Grand Rapids, Iron Labs, Walled Lake, Herbal Solutions, Ypsilanti, Biocultivation, The Herbal Center of Mount Morris, IDK Farms, Kurtz Leach and Associates of Birmingham, Act Labs, Lansing, Go Clark Fashion Investments, Burton, Hybrid.Life Magazine, Once Bitten, Twice Baked, Plush Lighting in Niles, Cannabis Council, Detroit, Nichols Law Firm, East Lansing, The Green Rock Cafe, Flint, Urban Garden Supply, Flint, also the Marijuana Ranch, Happy Harvesters, The Full Melt Show, Lindy's Bed, Matty Eddie's, Lex Cocaine, Jaxka Farm, and BDT Hazel Park.
Got something to hide? Canalock offers discreet and effective storage solutions that destroy odor. so nobody knows. Canalock is a patented charcoal-activated bag that discreetly stores your marijuana. Canalock is made from the same material as military chemical warfare suits. Get yours at canalock.com. Visit canalock.com to learn more about no-smell technology.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki,
Sacred Elements.
raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Door Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570.
Don't miss the first ever cannabis competition this year as the prize contest moves from Amsterdam to Jamaica. That's right, it's all Jamaican fun now with the big cup competition in Negril this November. Get your best travel accommodations now at JamaicaPot.com. Pack your beach bong and swimsuit and party down at the warm sandy beaches of Negril, Jamaica for the first ever big cannabis event this year. Do it in style or come have fun on a budget. Best travel prices now at JamaicaPot.com. That's JamaicaPot.com.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade. You got this.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
Our phone lines are sponsored by Canalock.com, the no-smell bags.
I'm not a fan of winter rains. I'm like a fan of more ghosts those days.
If you want to phone, Canalock gives us a great toll-free number. It's 1-844-420-TALK. Toll-free, 1-844-420-TALK. Continental United States wide. Give us a jingle if you want to talk about something cannabis-related tonight on the program. I don't even care if you don't have something to talk about that's related to one of the stories we're talking about. If you think you got something to chime in about, because something's happening where you're living, 844-420-TALK. Phone lines are open now. So I told you that the U.S. government's got their patent on weed, right? I told you about the big glaring evidence, the smoking gun evidence. U.S. patent number 6630507. Let me just see if maybe I can just read part of it to you. According to cannabinoids have been found to have antioxidant properties unrelated. So here's the abstract to the patent, the U.S. patent. Cannabinoids have been found to have antioxidant properties unrelated to NMDA receptor antagonism. Now the NMDA receptor is also the one, by the way, that is agitated by glutamate, which is heavily present in the MMR vaccine. And in my belief, based on the research of Dr. Stephanie Seneff at the MIT Laboratories of Artificial Intelligence, that this NMDA receptor is CB2 in the brain. It's the cannabinoid receptor for CBD. And it's also CBD that seems to go in and affect that cannabinoid receptor, reduce the inflammation in the brain, and reverse. I said reverse. I'll say it again, loudly and clearly. Reverse. Reverses the symptoms of autism. That in combination with THC, which goes to the other receptor, CB1, which tends to regulate all that firing happening in the brain. And this is all set up, if you listen to that episode, according to Center for Research, set up by this awful thing called glyphosate that we're using in the food supply. It's in the residual food supply. It's getting into children's formulas, the soy-based formula. You get some glyphosate in there. It's Roundup. It's the stuff you spray between the cracks to kill the weeds. They're making GMO foods that are resistant to that stuff. It's getting into the food supply. It's screwing with your gut. It's screwing with your liver. It's screwing with the biology, what you could absorb in your gut as a result, because it's chelating metals, and your body uses those metals to counteract the glutamate, which is toxic outside the brain cell. I know this is really complex. And that's what seems to be causing autism. It's the same receptor found in this NMDA receptor. And they're talking about antagonism. They're talking about inflammation, causing inflammation based on that receptor's antagonism. And this relates to the NFL story. Just follow me, please. This newfound property makes cannabinoids useful in the treatment and prophylaxis of wide variety of oxidation-associated diseases, such as ischemic, age-related, inflammatory, and autoimmune diseases. The cannabinoids are found to have particular application as neuroprotectants. For example, in limiting neurological damage following ischemic insults. So we're talking about brain damage, injury. We're talking about traumatic brain injury. We're talking about what NFL players get when they butt helmets together and end up with a concussion. A concussion is traumatic brain injury. A severe form of it is what Princess Diana died from. But this particular disease in the NFL is called CFE. And CFE is something that happens to the brain tissue after it's been damaged long term, causes this tissue to slowly die off and not be replaced, and you end up with symptoms of Alzheimer's and other terrible age-related, normally, diseases. This is a neuroprotectant. I'm reading from U6630507. The cannabinoids are found to have a particular application as neuroprotectants, for example, in limiting neurological damage following ischemic insults, such as stroke and trauma, or in the treatment of neurodegenerative diseases, like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and HIV dementia. Non-psychoactive cannabinoids such as cannabidiol, that's CBD, are particularly advantageous because they avoid toxicity that is encountered with psychoactive cannabinoids at high doses in the method of the present invention. A particularly disclosed class of cannabinoids useful as neuroprotective antioxidants is Formula I, where they give you the formula there, wherein the R group is independently selected from the group consisting of, and then, they give the chemical breakdown. So if you want to read it up, just Google U.S. patent number 6630507. I'll say it again so you can write it down. It's because it's easy. Or U.S. patent on cannabis. Just Google that. But if you want the patent number, it's 6630507. And I swear to God, somebody should write a song around it so that everybody would not only remember it, but they would know it. Because there's a crap ton of people that are just not aware that the federal government has a patent on cannabis as a neuroprotectant, which is the proof that is necessary for medical efficacy. Yet Class 1 controlled substance, Schedule 1, has no recognized medical benefit. Now, how can you talk out of both sides of your mouth? The answer is big money. That's what it is. The answer is special interest, big money, that is controlling this issue outside of the will of the people and at the expense, the great blood and treasure expense of the citizens of this country. It drives me insane. So now that I've told you about 6630507 in more detail, let's talk about what Forbes says about the NFL, right? Because the NFL, they say, should be investigating marijuana. In fact, that's what the title of the article is. the NFL should be investigating marijuana for its medical benefits. In this case, traumatic brain injury, or CFE, as the NFL has already had to deal with it. So the article's titled, "The NFL should be investigating in marijuana research if it wants to survive." Well, and this is an article put together. I didn't read his full bio, but it's Jason Belzer. He's a contributor to Forbes in the sports money section. If you want his full bio, it's available at Forbes.com. He says he's a sports attorney and founder of Game Inc., where he works in the business of college sports, and he runs one of the biggest college basketball tournaments in the country, manages the careers of dozens of coaches, and consults in building of successful programs throughout the college football and basketball landscape. He also helps universities better protect student-athletes with college sports advisors and teaches sports management at his alma mater, Rutgers University. So this is a learned man. And his contribution to Forbes magazine in this article is as follows. The National Football League has survived more public relations crises in the past year than most multi-billion-dollar organizations endure in a decade. Yet the greatest existential threat to the NFL, if not the existence of football itself, still remains chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. I said CFE. I stand corrected. It's CTE. As former All-Pro linebacker Junior Seau's documented struggle with CTE demonstrated, the presentation of symptoms that occur in those stricken with the disease are not always readily apparent. Concussions and subconcussive impacts on the brain, that's big impacts and small impacts, cause the rapid brain decay that is a precursor to CTE. Eventually, the lobes of the brain blacken and lose density, causing depression, early onset dementia, Parkinson's disease, and eventually death. Terrifying, the vast prevalence of the disease may not be known until fairly recently. Just this year, Boston University found the existence of CTE in the brains of 96% of 91 tested subjects, all of whom played football at some organized level. When the disease was first discovered in 2002 in the brain of former Pittsburgh Steeler Mike Webster by Dr. Bennett Omalu, the NFL initially tried to limit the fallout from that discovery. According to Omalu, the NFL doctors told me that if 10% of mothers in this country would begin to perceive football as a dangerous sport, that's the end of football. Now, I'm not a big football guy. I'm not, I do have, I guess if I have any strong ties to especially football or sports at all, it would be to my would-be alma mater, MSU, Michigan State University. Big fan there. Went to school out in East Lansing. And so, went to college out there. But so I've always been a big MSU fan, and so I'm glad that MSU won this last game against Michigan, despite the controversy involved in the timing and call of the play. Last year, Harvard Medical School professor, according to this Forbes article, Dr. Lester Grinspoon, called attention to a neuroprotective agent that has the potential to render concussions obsolete: marijuana. According to Grinspoon, a National Institute of Health study from 1998 revealed the neuroprotective qualities of marijuana's two main psychoactive ingredients, cannabidiol and delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol. The study was in 2008, a similar one in Spain, revealing that the THC receptors in the brain are involved in the healing process upon sustaining brain injury. I'll say that again. CBD and THC in 2008, a study in Spain revealing that THC receptors in the brain are involved in the healing process upon sustaining brain injury. Most recently, the National Institute of Health showed that the THC significantly decreases the death rate of patients with physically sustained brain trauma. In 2013, a team of researchers in Brazil were able to prove that cannabidiol, CBD, has the ability to regenerate brain cells in mice. That study specifically showing a capacity to promote the growth of brain cells in the areas of the brain attributed to depression, anxiety, and chronic stress, the symptoms of CTE. If components of marijuana have been proven beneficial to patients with neurological injury, 6675309, no. It's 6630507, remember? The natural conclusion would be to study the drug and develop a medication that could effectively help prevent terrible effects of concussion and CTE. That said, the barriers to begin this sort of endeavor, research that nevertheless could save the game of football, are high. No pun intended. Perhaps most obviously, the biggest issue is one of funding. As Dr. Grinspoon has pointed out, there are only two types of entities capable of financing the costs of legitimizing this research. A governmental organization, or B, a major corporation. As marijuana remains a Schedule I narcotic, the federal government presumptively would not approve such a study or pay for such a study or be interested in such a study. Let me guarantee you it would not. And has not participated in this sort of research. One possibility, however, is that the NFL, who made over $12 billion in revenue last year, or one of its philanthropic team owners, shout out to the Dallas team owner, that might be the best route to go. See, if the league were to finance this research, they would face an avalanche of cries of hypocrisy, as the league has a strict no-drug policy. Now, realistically, the program is often taken as seriously by its players as the league's selection of the policy's mandated testing date of April 20th. The unofficial holiday of recreational users of marijuana. See, April 20th is an off-season day, right? They're not playing football on April 20th. And so there's a way that NFL players, famously have been getting around the marijuana ban. Don't be fooled for a minute that your favorite player isn't smoking dope off the field for a pain injury associated with something he did playing football. It's happening industry-wide. The NFL should support it. We'll tell you the rest of the story. It's amazing. Next.
You're getting the full melt.
Get ready, let's go. Hey, na, 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 na. Oh, hey, now, let's go. Yeah, I've got style. I'll make it wild. I'll change it up and switch it up so versatile. I'll be myself and I'm gonna let everybody know.
We have the latest styles to mix it and mash it. So make it your own and bend the trend. JCPenney. When it fits, you feel it. During the JCPenney Back to School Hot Sale, get an extra $10 off when you spend $25 or more with coupon. Nike, Converse, Levi's, and other exclusions apply.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release. We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that as traders we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade, you got this.
Don't miss the first ever cannabis competition this year as the prize contest moves from Amsterdam to Jamaica. That's right, it's all Jamaican fun now with the Big Cup competition in Negril this November. Get your best travel accommodations now at JamaicaPot.com. Pack your beach bong and swimsuit and party down at the warm sandy beaches of Negril, Jamaica for the first ever big cannabis event this year. Do it in style or come have fun on a budget. Best travel prices now at JamaicaPot.com. That's JamaicaPot.com.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
We asked people to tell us something that happened in their past and something that might happen in their future. The good things were put on yellow magnets and the bad ones on blue. The results show the past was a pretty even mix of good and bad, yet the future was almost all good things. Now that you've seen the results of this experiment, what does it mean to you?
We all want to think about positive stuff.
Realistically, there will be downtimes.
It's great to think optimistically, but let's plan for whatever the future might bring.
Prudential, bring your challenges.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Hey, if you think you might want to get in one of those catalog no-smell bags, going to play a contest at the end of the program. Coming up after the next break. Get your digit dialing fingers ready, 844-420-TALK. I may have to quiz you on some content in the show. What could it possibly be that I'm going to ask you? I'm not sure what it could possibly be that I've been talking about during the show that I might ask you about. There might be something that I've referenced multiple times in the show that you might know. You might even remember it because I've said it so many times. I'm not going to say it again. If you want to win that thing, call up between now and the next break. And after the next break, well, because I'll put you on hold during this segment. And then after the next break, if you can tell me that number. Okay, I said enough already. Then I'll give you the Canalock bag. Also, if you'd like to register to win the Canalock bag, it's really easy to do on the website. Go to thefullmelt.com/no-smell. That's thefullmelt.com, thefullmelt.com/no-smell. And just put your email address and your name in there. And you're registered to win that bag. I think there's also, you can buy a Canalock bag with a 10% off coupon code right there if you'd like to. But you can register to win a free one, and I'm going to give one away in just a few minutes. So we've been talking about this thing about the NFL, right? And that these NFL players are having these injuries, and this is probably, Forbes backs up my point because I said the same thing about the NFL, that its largest linchpin, its Achilles heel right now, is its perception as a safe sport. From a number of standpoints, because it's not just the mothers who would be putting people into football programs, and then that's where they're eventually getting these players from, right? At some point, they're going into high school sports, they're getting drafted into college sports, and then being, just freelance hired right out of college sports into professional sports. That's where these players are all coming from. That is the field pool. So, that being said, if mothers stop sending their kids into football programs, because right now it's cool and sexy, it's the hip thing to do. It has been for decades. High school football programs are big school curricular activities, extracurricular activities. It's got to be the biggest extracurricular activity outside of maybe band, depending on what school you're at, that the school has to fund. I would say that there aren't many ski clubs that are bigger than the football program. So you've got that angle of it, but then also you've got the player angle of it. The ones that have gone through all this stuff, they get to the player end, they're like, wait a minute. You've already got a player that quit the NFL. I don't know his name. I don't follow the stuff. I follow the news, but I don't follow the names of sports. So who's the player that quit? I don't know. I'll have to look it up. It doesn't matter. He quit because of the potential injuries he could sustain. He decided that his health was more important than any additional monies he could garner from the NFL in extending his contract or continuing his contract or whatever he had to do. So you've got this reluctancy of players now to get involved in an NFL-type program unless they're just willing to trade their health for dollars. And then you've got the federal government who's going to call into question the legitimacy of a business that places people in danger for money. This is what happened to boxing in this country. I'm surprised. Look, I feel like I'm on ESPN or something. I'm talking all sports, but this is cannabis as it's related to sports. So I feel really weird talking sports talk, considering the last, station that I worked at was an FM talk station that I left because they converted to sports talk. It's just weird. And by the way, I think they're doing pretty good. So here's the rest of this. Here's the other shoe. So you've got these people in the NFL that are currently using cannabis as a therapeutic remedy on their own, maybe even hinted at by some doctors. Who knows? Who knows what the doctors say to these players? They certainly have had their go around with the questionable opiates, haven't they? A lot of people having issues. It was just last year where they had a problem. The DEA even came in to Pittsburgh, I believe it was, and tested everybody on site, checked with everybody. They didn't do piss testing. What they did was they ran around and checked out everybody's prescriptions. Hey, where'd you get those Vicodins at? Where did you get those painkillers at? Who gave you the prescription for that? Did they give it to you in this state? You see, you've got to have your own doctors from your own state, from your own team, giving you those meds. You can't be getting them from another doctor and another team. You can get your prescription filled, but see, they're handing these things out like candy at the NFL. These opiates. I have to finish up this story because I'm never going to get it out if I don't. So here's how they're avoiding it. On April 20th, when they're mandated to be piss tested, which is ironic as all hell, they're off season, so they're not playing right then. That's when everybody gets hit. They all know when it's going to happen. They all clean up their acts a month or so before April 20th. So, you think about March 20th to April 20th, nobody's smoking any weed. They go in and they do their piss test. They drop clean. And then, guess what? It's a free ticket to smoke dope the rest of the season. That's what it is right now. And for those unfortunate enough not to clean up enough, if you get caught at that piss test, now you got to get sampled all the time. Now they're going to take those piss tests all the time and kick you out and do all this other stuff as is put together in the collective bargaining agreement. The union contract. So the union contract dictates what happens. And so far, the NFL has not, from its side or from the player side, pushed this issue of cannabis other than having this lax, loose policy around marijuana in the first place. Because this is what players have bargained for. And they've created this loophole that they're all jumping through on the issue of pot and players using it. Players who have not been cited or arrested for drug possession and who have not tested positive as part of the league's drug program need only pass the single yearly marijuana test and then are free from testing until the next offseason, the next April 20th. Quite notoriously, players simply pass the annual test and continue to use the drug therapeutically for injuries during the season. This isn't me saying this. This is Forbes magazine. The sports section of Forbes. Medical marijuana is legal in 23 states, recreational use legal in 3 states, and the drug has been decriminalized in many of the U.S.'s major cities, yet the drug remains illegal for use by players. Although the initial publicity for the NFL might be negative, the potential impact reaching into future generations is tremendous. Not only would the league attempt to cure a major medical question that plagues modern sports, but it could potentially set a precedent for major corporations to push marijuana research forward to fully discover the drug's potential. The looseness of the NFL's current marijuana policy, as well as Commissioner Goodell's recent statement that the league is willing to support research into marijuana's medical use, specifically to football, suggests that his partnership is more than a viable option. That's the article in Forbes. I mean, he's calling Goodall directly out based on his former statements and his policy positions to do the right thing, man up, pull up your damn NFL bootstraps, and fund the research behind the therapeutic use of cannabis as it relates to traumatic brain injury. It's the one issue that plagues your sport. It's the Achilles heel. It's what will take your sport off the map as a national pastime. You have to understand that football has long taken over baseball as America's pastime. It used to be back in the 70s the baseball was America's pastime. You found more people and more money in baseball stadiums than you found in football ones. That migrated rapidly in the late 80s and early 90s into football. I mean, it's been that way ever since. If you want to see football go the way of boxing and have to migrate into something like the UFC, Ultimate Fighting, the caged boxing tournaments, freestyle, mixed martial arts, if you want to see boxing, or if you want to see football morph into something else, because it had to lose its name as football because Monday Night Football was too dangerous for mothers to send their children into that sports field. And it was too dangerous for players to play, and it got too legally, and then advertisers bailed, and then all of a sudden people stopped going to the games. It got a bad name. I'm saying that if you want to see football morphed into something else, Mr. Goodall, stand by and let the federal government continue to tell you that marijuana is not helping your brain-injured patients. This article calls on you, Mr. Goodall, and your wealthy NFL owners to fund this research. I mean, look at the benefit it would give you. Because first off, you might have to, like I say, it might be a rough topic to approach, right? Because it's a little bit taboo. But you've been dealing with this for a while, haven't you? You've got the laxed policy. You've let the players have the loophole. They all jump through it, and you know they do. Your own stats tell you that's what they're doing. I believe you talk about it behind closed doors, knowing that that's what's happening. Do the right thing. Step up. Grab the polls by the nose ring. Because the polling all in America says, look, if there was ever a time to stand up and be pro-marijuana, it's now. And you've got a damn good reason to do it, I might add. The safety and well-being of the sport which you harbor under your office as its president. I mean, there's no bigger obligation than you have than to the safety of your players and the well-being, the financial well-being of those wealthy owners. Research marijuana now for your problems. We'll be back with a contest coming up next.
You're getting the full melt.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road. Take care when passing. And always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
Imagine a world where patients can use marijuana like any other medicine. The Marijuana Patients Organization challenges the status quo by helping our neighbors to enjoy a better quality of life. Visit the MPO at marijuanapatients.org and enjoy informative articles, engaging debates, and information about treatments, doctors, and dispensaries in your area. Over 50,000 people have registered at marijuanapatients.org since 2010. Join us at the Marijuana Patients Organization today, marijuanapatients.org.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pets.
Hello, boys and ghouls. Your old friend the Crypt Keeper here with a Pottober News Bulletin. Ghoulies and creepies gather thee round for a map to patience partying down. As the days grow shorter to the end of month 10, it's time to gather, friend among friend. Michigan card holders, admission is free to the X on the map dubbed Hall Deboween. This lure of free fun is perfectly true, and this is the invite. Yes, that means you. The vendors and speakers this day are just ghosts, exchanged for free entry, free food, and a toast. Asunder our differences this Hallows Eve, so we may bring fire to glorious weed. You may light up and your neighbor may match it. The smoke in the air is to bury the hatchet. The contests you enter are all also free. Considerable prizes for the winners there'll be. Can of meds are welcome. It's alcohol free. The Jam Shack, Mount Morris, from 7 till 3.
Deboween sponsors include Depot Town of Ypsilanti, Sweetly, Flint, Harborside, Ann Arbor, Third Coast, Ypsilanti, Dank Scheme, Flint, Two Guys in a Grow Shop, Burton, Florida Bob's Place, Puff and Stuff of Lansing, Happy Buddha, Lansing, The Spot, Kalamazoo, Compassion Club US of Grand Rapids, Iron Labs, Walled Lake, Herbal Solutions, Ypsilanti, Bio Cultivation, The Herbal Center of Mount Morris, IDK Farms, Kurtz Leach and Associates of Birmingham, Act Labs, Lansing, Bill Clark Bash Investments, Burton, Hybrid Life Magazine, Once Bitten, Twice Baked, Lush Lighting in Niles, Cannabis Council, Detroit, Nichols Law Firm, East Lansing, The Green Rock Cafe, Flint, Urban Garden Supply, Flint, also the Marijuana Ranch, Happy Harvesters, The Full Melt Show, Lindy's Bed, Matty Eddie, Flex Cocaine, Zaxka Farm, and BDT Hazel Park.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio Show.
How could that not make you mad? How can it not upset you that the NFL is playing games with its own life like that? Do you think they've ever even considered for a moment that they might fund this kind of research, that they might stand by and stand up for their players? Do you think that might be in the interest of the players to ask for this in their next collective bargaining agreement? Do you think it's possible at all to ask the players in their own interests to lobby their union, their collective bargaining agreement, to push for this kind of ruling? Effectively, in the bargaining agreement, getting them to set forth, commit cash yearly to the bona fide research and study of the U.S. patented therapeutic beneficial use of CBD and THC as neuroprotectants that may save the lives of some of these players in their elderly years. It's not even in their elderly years. It's just in their, in their middle-aged and senior years. This is an early onset thing. This is like having a 55-year-old man walking around with full-blown Alzheimer's. I mean, it's just crazy. So, I mean, I think, there may be people out there like looking at this subject, the one that I'm talking about now, and saying, oh, he's making a big deal out of this. No, it's not. It's not like that. Do you think for a minute that boxing thought that they were going to get wiped off the face of the planet when people started saying boxing was too dangerous? Boxing was big money. In the 70s, boxing was everything. You don't find boxing anymore. It's not as supported. It's not as big. It's a much smaller industry now. Boxing by itself, professional boxing. It's fallen apart. Its sponsorship, its attendance have gone down tremendously. It's harder to attract people to the sport. People would much rather go to the MMA stuff, the caged mixed martial arts, all those kind of alterations of hand-on-hand combat. It's so far and wide apart. If you look at boxing, depicted in the 20s and boxing depicted today, the only thing that's really changed is maybe some of the stuff that they use in the sport. It's the same as any other sport that existed at the time and has migrated. You get some improvements in technology, you get better equipment. That's about all that's changed, other than the fact that it was big in the 70s and it's virtually nothing today. It happened overnight. It happened in very little time. And it was all based around the idea that boxing is no longer considered a safe sport. I mean, look at people like Sugar Ray Leonard, who had to go in and have eye surgery. He's out there batting somebody around in his past his years, past certainly his prime. It was a comeback. He had retired from boxing, came back with his eye injury. When you start doing that kind of stuff, look, the guy now has his eye nearly knocked out of his skull. But he came back and fought for some money because it was there on the plate. People started looking at this sport, and that was really around the time that this really started to dwindle drastically. It wasn't just Sugar Ray. There were a lot of other people with injuries and early deaths associated with their boxing careers. It's still happening today, some of these boxers from those eras. In terrible shape. And this is why boxing declined. It was no longer deemed safe as a sport by the populace that used to enjoy it. It was fine when we thought you were beating the hell out of somebody and they were just going to recover from it. As long as you were getting up and getting better, nobody cared. It was all just good fun. Who's the bigger brute? Who's the bigger athlete? That's what it came down to. If the NFL starts being viewed in this day and age, because the 70s, remember the age of Archie Bunker. You could say the N-word on national TV and nobody batted a damn eye. Say that now and find out how fast, everything gets boycotted. We're much more namby-pamby now. We are much more panty-laced as a country. Because we're so afraid to be politically incorrect about what we say to each other. It's all nonsense. You can't nerf the world. People hear a swear word and they think that you're cussing at them. It's just, stop taking everything so damn personally. Just because prejudice isn't going to go away just because you don't like it and it's not popular, it's not appropriate. It's not going to disappear. It's still present. It doesn't mean you got to glorify it, but you're never going to get it to go away. Prejudice is based in fear. It always has been. It always will be. It's the underlying basic foundational ingredient of prejudice. It's fear. If you get rid of fear, prejudice goes away. But I'm just saying you're never going to get rid of the stuff. So it upsets me that people now have gotten this opinion, this point of view, this fallacial feeling, this false belief that they have the right to not be offended. And that's just clearly not the case. You're going to be offended all your life. And there's no law that says that you're protected against being offended. So, this political correctness crap bothers me a lot because it's made us kind of mealy-mouthed and panty-waist when it comes to standing up and talking about subjects and getting down to the nitty-gritty and solving a problem. Because like I said, back in the 70s, boxing was that big money. It disappeared in a heartbeat. Overnight, it just kind of dwindled down to nothing. You didn't hear anything for boxing, the sport of professional boxing, for like a decade and a half, and then they started morphing into these other kind of alternate martial arts-based, freestyle fighting categories. And they're all making some money. But you're not using these big people that are designed with their fists to beat you in the head because that's the sweet spot. You always go for the KO in boxing, right? You're always going for the head. That's the target. It's not necessarily the case with this mixed martial arts. It's kind of wrestling. It's kind of mixed martial arts doing. But in the long run, it's one of those things that people consider safe because nobody's walking away from a mixed martial arts battle saying that they can't play anymore because they're partly, mentally impaired on one level or another. It's craziness. So I don't know if our caller is going to have the answer to our question or not, but we'll see. They might be able to Google it in the remainder of the show. Hello, you're on the air. It's the Full Melt program. Congratulations on being the caller to try and win a Cadillac bag. Are you there? Can we hear you?
Sorry.
Yes, okay. Hey, I'm going to stop the program because we're almost at the end of the program. Up.
Larry.
Hey, hang on, Larry. I'm stopping the show. We were in the closing throes of the show when you called, Larry. So,
okay.
I can imagine that you may have not been listening to the show because I did put out a Facebook shout out to say, hey, we're giving away a Cadillac bag. I'm assuming that that's what you're calling for, is to win the Cadillac bag. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, and I was watching the show.
Oh, you were
watching? Not watching the show. I'd seen it on Facebook. I catch the show occasionally.
Okay, so I have to ask you a question.
Steve?
It is Steve. Can you hear me?
Hey, Steve. This is Larry Moore.
Hey, Larry.
From Fenton High School.
Hey, so Larry and I, went to school together but didn't go to school together, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is somebody beeping in on you?
Nope.
Oh, you know what? I bet you they're beeping in on me. Yeah, they are. Hang on.
Okay.
There's no way to do. You know what we've done is we've changed from AT&T now to this voice over IP thing. And see that beeping coming in. I think that's a call waiting. Instead of going to the next line, it's trying to do a call waiting function. Oh, now I got to call the people at UMA. Oh, see, it's going to beep on us like that forever until they hang up. Okay, Larry. Here's the big question. Let's see if you can get this right. So, the federal government has issued a patent on cannabis. I'll say that again because of the beep. The federal government has issued a patent on cannabis. It's okay if you Google it. I'll give you a chance to Google it. Do you know the U.S. patent? Do you know the U.S. patent number on cannabis?
No. And really, I'm not going to Google it.
You're not going to Google it. Oh, damn. See, that thing is I got to call the UMA people now. Larry, see, our game quiz time here has turned into a phone rep sales call guy to try and fix a problem. It's going to drive me nuts. Okay, so I'm going to give you the Cadillac bag anyways, but just for the record, so you know. And stay on the line because the show's going to end, but don't go anywhere because I got to get your address and stuff so I can send you your free 1-ounce Cadillac no smell bag. It's a $50 value.
Yeah, right on.
So, but it's 6630507. 6630507 is the federal patent number on cannabis. I said it like 27,000 times during the show. Don't forget, it's a neuroprotective quality of cannabis. The federal government's got a patent on it. I got to get rid of the beeping. We'll see you tomorrow on the next edition of the Full Melt Show. Stand by, Larry.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.